325 versus 325 narrow kerf. This is something I wanted to do for a while. Finally managed to piece together all the things that I'd need to do it. I have done this with a group of different narrow kerf chains. This is the most like-for-like comparison I have, so we'll start with this. Then probably in another week or so, I'll make another video showing some of the other stuff. All of this was run on a Makita DCS 460 or a Dolmar PS 460, 45 cc's, approximately 3 horsepower. All the other narrow kerf stuff I did was on an MS250, which is the same size and power. So the basics of what we're looking at here, we have 2 Husky bars and 2 Husky chains. This is the best like-for-like I can get. So when we're zoomed right in, on the bottom is Husky S35G. It is a 325 058 gauge semi-chisel with the little bumper link. On the top is Husky SP33G. That is a 325 narrow kerf. In Husky speak, the P in the chain designates it as pixel. Pixel is their term for narrow kerf. So they're the 2 chains up close. Basically, they are roughly the same. So when we move out, cutter lengths are very similar. The difference is in the overall kerf, the overall width of the pair. The SP33G, the narrow kerf, is 6.1 millimeters wide overall when new, and the S35G is 6.9 millimeters wide overall. There is an overall difference in kerf of 11.5%. The basic idea of narrow kerf is that the thin kerf reduces the load on the saw. So there's 11.5% reduction in kerf. So what's that actually equal in the real world? What changes? I'll show you the videos of the cut speed and then we'll talk about it. So overall, the average cut speed of the narrow kerf SP33G is 11.1 seconds, and the 058 gauge full width S35G was 11.5. So there's an overall difference in cut speed of 3%. This really surprised me. I was expecting a lot more. I would have thought the 10% reduction in kerf would have made a much bigger difference on these chains. Some other basic stuff. The overall width of the bars is different because it's specifically made for a narrow kerf. It is narrower. It's 3.8 millimeters wide versus 4.4 on that. It's not a very wide bar to begin with. I did also run this Oregon 95 TXL, which is Oregon's 325 narrow kerf. The problem was it's not really in the same league as these other two. It was outdone by both of them. So I'm not going to include it at this stage. It will be included in some of the later stuff that I show with the MS250, which has the still 23RM Pro, RS Pro, and that 95 TXL. There is a slight difference in feel when you're using them. There is a noticeable reduction in in reaction force with the narrow kerf. There is less pulling and pushback, but it's noticeable when you run them back to back, but neither of them feels particularly bad. So there's no real problems there. Husky's sharpening specs on both of these is for them to be filed with a 30-degree filing angle across the top, 60-degree side plate, 60-degree top plate cutting angle. So just that 30, 60, 60, pretty standard issue. Hold the file flat and go through. That's what they're recommending. Both the new chains come exactly like that, which is a nice change from their full chisel stuff. You are getting exactly what they say. I do have the roller guide for this. I believe it's slightly different for that, for the 33G due to the width. I find the roller guides hold the file a little too high on this and end up with approximately a 70 or 75 degree top plate cutting angle. So I tend not to use it. It may be a mistake in how I'm using them. They're not something I'm all that familiar with. I have definitely used them in the past, but not really that much. So could be a user error, but for me, they hold the file a little too high. But yeah, that's the start of this 325 narrow kerf stuff. Like I said, I did a whole lot more. So we'll probably show that sometime next week whenever I get a chance to put it all together. But that's the difference so far. I was surprised that there was not a bigger increase in cut speed between them. I suppose while we're talking about it, durability wise, I extremely limited experience with this SP33, the S35, the 058 gauge one. I've run a fair bit of that because I was able to buy it in a 2-for-1 sale. So this is actually my this is loop number 3. I've gone through the other 2. Durability wise, it's excellent. I generally touch it up every 4th or 5th tank, and it's usually 1 or 2 swipes. It really takes nothing. You just do it because you feel bad to continue to run it. Part of that is because it's running on a relatively small saw with not a lot of power. They don't really bang up chains like any of the big stuff does, but yeah, it's been pretty good value for money. I wouldn't go and buy it full retail. The the narrow kerf one I was able to get off Amazon and the bar as part of a sale that they did. So I was able to buy the chain for about $22. These worked out to be $22 each with a 2-for-1 deal. So that was pretty damn good. But yeah, that's the basics of it. So we'll, like I said, I'll run through the other stuff in about a week or so, but that's what we got so far.